Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. And as always, we'll start with our EVE Online week, which has been pretty steady. I would say I've played the game a little bit on every single day and I managed to do a BPC run, pretty interesting. Freighters selling at really nice margins, still very high prices, pretty quick turnover as well in Jeddah, so that is still going pretty well. And the Orca is actually stabilizing at least a margin, not going negative, which I've seen before, for instance on the carrier. So the blueprint copies are still doing quite well, and to me, at least from that perspective, it looks like the large ship production is still holding quite well, which means that I can still try to sell as much PI as possible, because those prices are still really nice, of course, but during the last EVE talk yesterday, we did notice that there are some cracks that are forming, some prices that are starting to come back down. It's really a very different picture in the sense that the easier to make stuff, the refined PI materials, are starting to show signs of pressure, coming down in price, finding a similar range across the board as well. 10,000 for the sellers, 9,000 for the buyers. That seems to be the direction that we're heading, while at the same time we have the advanced PI materials, those closest and immediately needed for large ship production and structure production, that are seeing 1 year high points. So there's definitely something switching in the PI market, and I think I basically chose the right period to sell as much as possible, because things could really start to change substantially there. On the daily basis, we've got the skilling spree going, so just go out there, find an anomaly, or maybe scan a couple signatures, destroy a few rats. You could even do that honestly while doing some mining. When I do mine in my Orca, that's usually how I also do the skilling spree, because even getting 5 rats is not that difficult if you visit a couple of bells, so that's pretty easy, doesn't take too much time. And then of course I end my days every day in the trade hubs, usually Jeddah, but Dodixie a couple times as well, in order to be ready for the next day for the mission from Iris, who just wants a ship hull, and then you get some points for the alliance logos and things like that. I even got an EVE mail, or not an EVE mail, but an actual email from Iris notifying me that I got to like 68,000 points or something like that, and I could really do with a little bit of spending. So that's also what I did, found a couple more ships that I want, but I'm keeping a nice chunk of these points in reserve as well. And so overall for EVE Online, yeah, we are eagerly awaiting news on the future developments, especially of course the ability to join or to make effort for faction warfare, the faction of our choice, and then I want to see what that's all about, what we can do, and if there's fun to be had there or goals to be set. Yeah, that's exactly the same point as last week. I think it was planned for Q1, so we will see when things start to develop on the test server first, where at this point there's a little bit of change already. So first of all, the new Photon UI is going to become the standard, so no longer an opt-in or opt-out option. And then the beta is starting for the integration of an Excel plugin that should allow you to get data out of EVE Online straight into Excel. Can be useful, especially for EVE Talk and for some of the stuff that I do when it comes to trading. Not sure if I'll have time to join the beta myself, but this is in development together with Microsoft, so it really should make its way to the game at some point. And then I'll definitely see once it hits the live server. I'm not sure where the beta is taking place, and I'll definitely take a look at it and see what could be useful. And that brings me to the second game of the week, so I went back for some more Path of Exile, playing through another idea. My altitis is still pretty bad when it comes to PoE, but this time I went for a more defensive build, so I chose the Hero Pond, and then I am a Totem build, so I can escape damage pretty easily, focusing on getting 50% of the damage taken from mana before life, so that's a pretty nice increase of my HP. And then on top of that, 5% of my damage is also taken from the totems rather than my life, and then after that I went for a couple of nodes that basically give me 50% of the damage taken is recouped as life over 4 seconds. That's only for hits, but I usually of course take a lot of hits, so it's working quite nicely, I have to say, although the damage is not as good as some of the glass cannon builds that you can make. The big advantage is that I can quite comfortably run Kitava and take a few hits, get into the right position, recuperate a little bit, and I get back in there. Same thing with the laboratories, right? I'm not as afraid to take a hit from Izaro and then just see my character deleted, which has been a little bit of a problem on some of the glass cannon builds that I've done. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this character. I'm not sure if I'll be able to spend a lot more time this league in Path of Exile, because I am starting to run out of ideas and I'm starting to look forward to the next league. But at this point I am still having fun, and that was my last week in games, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.